Hey everyone, Jack here, and today I'm going to take a look at Artix Linux. And so I'm out at the Artix Linux website right now, and Artix is a simple, fast, and system-free, systemd-free release of desktop based on Arch Linux. This is a really nice looking and interesting distro. So Artix Linux is a rolling release distro, and it's based on Arch, and it uses OpenRC, runit, or S6 is the init, because PID1 must be simple, secure, and stable. So, seems like a good philosophy to me. The art of Linux, that's kind of what Artix is short for. It's roughly based on that phrase. I like that, the art of Linux. That's a really cool way to say it. And it's also making note here that the Arch repositories are made optional. So apparently the Artix has reached the stage where it can operate without the help of the Arch repositories. So they must have a really nice selection of things in their own repositories. That's really great. And of course they show you how you can go ahead and add the community and multi-lib and extra back in if you want to use them. But as such, new ISOs will ship without those in there, because apparently they've grown to the state where it would just be redundant. So that's really interesting. Says a lot for the project, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the download link here. And here we got all our different images available. We have Cinnamon, Community, Community Qt, LXDE, LXQt, Mate, Plasma, and XFCE. And I think this week I'm going to go with the Plasma spin on Artix. I'm going to go ahead and select this and click on the Plasma Runit version. I think Runit would be a nice one to go with and check out. So I'm going to go ahead and download this, install it. Yes, I'm going to save you the pain of the install because it's simple Calamares installer. So I'm going to go ahead and install it, and I'll be right back. Okay, here I am at the login prompt, and so that was a really easy install. Only took about 5 minutes to install it. Easy peasy. Really nothing eventful happened during it, except for one minor irritation, and that was when I got to the point where you create a password. It forced me to create a more complex password. And so I had to throw a number in there to make it more complex. And that was mildly irritating because I'd rather just make that choice myself. If I want to have a simple password, I think, I should be able to just do that at the install. However, not a big deal. That's not an issue that I'm going to lose hair over. Not that I can afford to lose any, but, Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and log in here, and then here we have our desktop. So we have a very clean desktop, very uncluttered, no icons here on the desktop. And then down here in our lower left we have our app menu, and it looks like it's using the standard KDE menu. That's really nice. I kind of like that. It keeps it really simple. And then we have our show desktop, our terminal, Dolphin file manager, and Falcon web browser. Nice. Okay, and then over on the right hand side I see we have our devices here, and then we got our hidden icons, and it looks like everything is hidden except for the clock here. That's pretty interesting, and nice big calendar. I will like that. And so in our hidden icons we have all our standard things that a lot of times you would see out here on the taskbar. Like your volume control, battery and brightness, Bluetooth, and things like that, and networks. So that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. There's some things I like to have easy access to, like the volume control, but really it doesn't matter that much. Because I don't adjust the volume that often. But that's probably the one thing I would probably move back out onto the taskbar, and that's easy enough to do. All you gotta do is just jump in here to this little settings thing, click on entries, and then over here we have audio volume, and so where it says always hidden, we'll just select this, and then it can be always shown or shown when relevant. And I'm just gonna have it always shown, and I'm gonna hit apply. And now you can see that the volume control has appeared right down here. 1 second. You really couldn't see the volume control because I was in the way. So I bounced up here real quick. So yes, now you can see the volume control down here in the corner. And so yes, all these icons, there's nothing here except for the most recent device and then the clock at the end, and then show hidden icons. All these things here in the show hidden icons, and hopefully you can see that above my head, are here. Easy peasy. So any of these things you want to put out on the taskbar here, you can easily do that. Again, just by clicking the settings here and then changing your item here. And then vice versa, if we wanted to take disk and devices and just make that hidden all the time, then that would disappear and go into the hidden icons. So you can do it both ways that way. Yeah, very good. All right. So there's our icon, have quick access to it, and that's nice to see. I guess the only other thing I would change is show desktop. I kind of like having that all at the end, and that probably comes from my Windows days way back in the day. The show desktop icon was always way over in the far right corner, and so that's something that's always made me kind of comfortable. So I'm just going to hit edit panel here, and then I can grab this once I'm in edit mode and just drag it all the way to the end. And there we go. Okay, over here at the end, this is our, just showing that our configuration is open. So that'll go away as soon as I go back out of edit mode. So when I click there, and now this will just go away once I come up here and close the window up here. So I'll just hit exit edit mode. And now it's disappeared and my show desktop is right there on the end. So that's kind of nice. That's where I like it. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of wallpaper's in here. So I'm just going to right click here and select this guy and see what we got. Oh yeah, nicer variety. The last couple reviews I didn't really have much in wallpaper, but here they got a nice little variety of some of your default KDE stuff that you can usually find. Nice. And this is one of my favorites here, the autumn. So I like that one. And that's kind of cool, the evening glow. Let's see what that looks like. Nice. Very cool. That's a great desktop there. I don't remember seeing that one before. I probably have, but... And this is a nice one too. Summer 1 a.m. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. So that's 1 a.m. I'm assuming in Alaska or some northern climate, because that's about the only place you would find the sun up that late. Or if you were down near the South Pole, I guess I shouldn't rule that out either. But I kind of like that. I think I'll kind of go with that. That's pretty nice. I'm going to jump out here and let's look in our menu and see what's new. So if we go up here under development, we got Cuttlefish. And we got the Plasma Engine Explorer, Global Theme Explorer. Have all kinds of fun getting in trouble there. And I'm kidding. And then we have Gwenview and Ocular. So Gwenview would be our picture viewer. Ocular is a great PDF viewer. One of my favorites, actually. And then under Internet, we have our Falcon browser and Conqueror. And that's kind of interesting that Firefox isn't installed by default. And not implying that's a bad thing at all, but it's kind of rare. A lot of times you always see the standard, either Firefox or Chromium, but typically Firefox. And so here we got the Falcon browser, very clean, and if you're security conscious, that's going to probably make you feel good too. Lower resources. And speaking of resources, let's just jump out of here. And that Falcon actually looks pretty sharp. And let's just jump into our console here, and I think I'll just expand that out a bit. And let's just see if HTOP is installed. I don't think it is, but let's do a quick install. And does not exist, probably because we haven't done an update, or at the very least sync the repositories. If I wanted to just get a quick install right now, I could just sync the repositories and probably get away with it for something small like HTOP, which doesn't have any real dependencies to speak of. So if I were just to do this and do a sudo pacman -s uppercase S YY, that'll just kind of sync everything without really updating. And then I should be able to do a quick install of HTOP, so I'll hit my up arrow key a couple times, press enter, and there we go, that's better. So I'm going to hit yes and let that go in. And now let's run HTOP real quick and just kind of see what our resources are. And I could have ran top, but I like HTOP. I think it's really nice, it's graphical, and it's kind of nice to stay consistent across reviews too. So here it looks like we're running 746 megs of resources. Wow, that's really good actually with KDE. And again, I think this goes back to our init system. One thing that I've kind of picked up on over the past couple of months here is that a lot of people don't like all the different processes that run in systemd, even though I have no problem with systemd personally. I have noticed that on these distros, Void Linux was the same, resource usage seems to be a lot smaller. So our HTOP readings are lighter overall, generally, it seems. Of course, there's not a whole lot installed on here either. It's probably a little bit bare bones. So I got to give it a little bit of fairness there. But overall, I think we are lighter here, using runit as our init as opposed to systemd. So I'm liking that, and it feels very snappy right off the bat. So great. I'm just going to go ahead and Control-C out of that. And I like the way the terminal's set up too. Really nice color scheme. I like the green here on the host name, and then my username in blue, and then some orange. Really nice use of color. I like that too. So excellent. Since I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and update this now that I synced my repository. But really the first thing you should do once you install a new desktop is to go ahead and update it, especially Arch, because you don't want to really be installing applications without first of all being up to date. So I'm just going to do a sudo pacman -uppercase SYYU and just let that do an update. And as you can see, our databases here are using System, World, and Galaxy. So I'm assuming these are all part of the Artix World and Galaxy. So that's really cool. I like that. It really says something for the project, like I said before. So here it's asking me if I want to replace Jack and replace it with Jack 2 from World. And I think I'm going to do that. Jack 2 is the newer version of Jack. So just when you thought you knew me as Jack, now you know that I'm really Jack 2. I'm a duplicate. Oh no. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes here. And then here's all our updates, and total download is about 769 megs. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. And our net upgrade size, by the way, is 13 megs. So really, even though it says total installed size is 2642 or 2.6 gigs, it's not really taking up all that much space because it's just replacing and updating stuff that's already there. And so your real difference really is only 13 megabytes. Very small. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Of course, if you got a slow internet connection, it's still a big chunk to download there. Luckily, I don't have a slow one, so I'm going to go ahead and let that update and just kind of let it do its thing in the background. And then I'm going to come up here and jump back in the menu. And also has Conqueror here as our other. And then we go into Media, Multimedia, and we have MPV for our media player. Yeah, quite bare bones actually. No Office installed. So I'm liking this in the fact that it's very minimal. I can choose what I want to install, and I like that because I don't have to worry about coming right into a system that's bloated. There's a couple different ways you can look at that. Some people might look at it like, but I want all that stuff in there. I want it all just there. I don't want to have to install it. So there are two different camps. I tend to come from the camp that I prefer installing my own stuff, because that way I can just give it what I need and I don't need to waste space and possibly resources on other things that I don't want installed. And I've actually installed distros where I spent a lot of time just uninstalling a lot of stuff. So for me, that's actually a good thing. And then here under settings, we got our system settings, and then our system applications here, Dolphin, HTOP, which we just installed, and then our info center, partition manager, typical KDE items here, and our system monitor. And let's look at info center real quick. This is kind of interesting. It's a direct link here to our information center from within our setups. So yeah, very cool. And then last but not least is our utilities. So here we have Arc and emoji selector. Nice. So again, more typical KDE stuff. Spectacle, which if I remember right is a screen capture. And then we got Sweeper. Cool. So Sweeper is kind of like the Linux equivalent to Windows crap cleaner, if I remember right. So in here we can just kind of clean out and do a little garbage collecting, and that'll just kind of make some room and just generally clean out the cobwebs. Nice. So there we go. So it didn't take long to get through the menu because, like I said, there's not a whole lot installed. It's very clean. So you get to choose what you want to have and add in here. Very cool. In fact, it's so clean that I didn't even see a software center in here. Typically, you would expect to find at least Discover installed on a KDE install, but there is none. So all your installs would be done right through the console here. So if we wanted to go ahead and add something like Discover or Pacman, we would want to do that right here. Personally, I just like to use the console to install software, but I like to be able every once in a while to just kind of jump in and use the software center to look at extra information on an app, possibly. And it's a little bit easier when you want to do a search for something. So if we want to install something like that, I could do a sudo pacman-s, and I think I'll go with Discover. Discover has kind of evolved to the point where it's really nice now. It was having issues earlier in about a year ago or so, and I forgot I had to complicate my password. But Discover has really gotten pretty good, and the other reason I kind of lean Discover is because it integrates nicely with Flatpak and I think Snap too. Now that we got Discover in there, we should be able to just go right here into System and select Discover. And this will also kind of look for updates too, I think, if you set it that way. Unable to load applications. Oh, right. I remember there was something about that. If I remember right, it had something to do with AppStream. And because I ran into this issue earlier in the year on another distro, I'm just going to go ahead and just try to install that separately. I think that would just be sudo pacman AppStream. And it says it's up to date, so I'm just going to go ahead and try to reinstall it. And I probably shouldn't have had that open. And then just jump up here. Nothing. So actually I want to do that without it being open, so I close Discover, and then let's uninstall that. So I'm going to just do pacman rns appstream, and we got appstream cute. So how about rdd? Okay, now let's reinstall it, and let's see if that fixed anything. Nothing. We could also try installing package kit Qt 5, and it looks like that's not in there, so let's give that a try. And let me close this. No. Okay, so let's see what that does. nothing. I'm going to go ahead and restart this. It might just need a restart. So I'm just going to go ahead, do that real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I restarted. So let's give it a shot. I'm going to run up here to System, Discover, and it's back. All right, now we got it back. So here's our Discover. We're back in business. So if you want a GUI type app store to refer to, this is a great way to go. Now if I want to just kind of select different apps, I can just run in here and do the old standby Inkscape, and I can install that guy. And I like the look there with the downloading bar. I never noticed that before. That must be kind of a new feature. Nice. Okay, so it went ahead and installed Inkscape. So if I jump up here to our graphics, it's not there. So it must have put it somewhere else. Fascinating. And it looks like Inkscape installed just fine. So that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and close Discover. And then just hit save there. And thanks. You're welcome. Just choose a template. And there we go. And of course that would be the latest, newest version because we are on Arch, of course. So draw freely. Draw freely, my friend. Draw freely. Oh, yes. Excellent. So from here, yeah, what I would do is I would just go ahead and install all my normal applications, an Office suite like WPS Office maybe, and then I would add in under multimedia, of course, OBS Studio, then under graphics, Blender, and all the favorites that I like to put in there. GIMP, of course. That's kind of a must-have for somebody like me. Can't live without GIMP or Inkscape. And actually, Krita is a nice choice. I saw Krita in the Discover when I opened that up. And so that's really an excellent choice too for software. And also I'm going to jump in here to configure wallpaper. And just wanted to run over a couple things real quick. Under our location, we want to show our desktop folders, so that's by default is good. Our arrangements are in rows, so that means your icons are going to go horizontally across this way as you add icons to your desktop. So just to let you know, by default that's the way that's arranged. If you want it to go the other way, like the traditional Windows columns where they go up and down, then you would just switch that here to columns, and then you'd have columns. So that's how that works. And so typically I would just kind of go with the defaults on all these, really, myself, personally. So if I jump out of here and jump into our settings, it's kind of nice only having settings there. That's gives it easy access. I think our settings are all pretty much standard here. We start out, of course, in our appearance, and so by default, this is kind of cool. I like the quick settings where we have our light theme, dark theme to choose from. Right now we're in our dark theme. And clicking files. I like the way this is set up because here we have clicking on files and folders selects them, and that means you can double click on a folder to open it. And that's pretty standard, is to double click that, but some distros and KDE Desktop will have that set to a single click because that was kind of the default KDE thing for a long time. And so you'd always have to try to find out where to go to fix that. And this is a place. So if you like it the other way around and you like a single click to open a folder, just jump right here into the quick settings and you can get to it right there. Nice. And then we have more behavior settings, screen locking, energy saving, and these are most used settings in my case too, because I typically jump in here and turn off the screen locking myself. So it's really nice to have just quick access to that. And then if we go up here to appearance where you normally start out, we have the Artix dark theme. I was kind of wondering what that theme was because I really like it. It looks really nice. I like the red up here when you highlight, the really nice, complements the black really well. So I gotta say, the people that kind of put this together, they got a good sense of color. And it looks like we're using our GTK2 for our application style. And our plasma style by default is Artix Dark, which I like. I think I would just keep it just the way it is. I'm liking the default color scheme. If I were to change it, I would probably just download something like Dracula. However, I like this. It's really pretty nice, just the way it is. So I don't really feel like I'm compelled to want to change it. And that's kind of rare, because typically when I install a new desktop, the first thing I want to do is change it. So that says something in itself. Then we have our mate icons here, and that's kind of cool. I think the mate would look kind of cool with this, actually. So if I went into home and I wanted to change these from the default breeze type icons and give it more kind of a minty look, a minty mate, then I could go ahead and select that and hit apply. And that would change these guys after I kind of go back and, or maybe I missed something. I'll hit that again. And so I probably just got to close my dolphin. I think I've seen that before, where you got to kind of refresh it. There we go. Green. Nice. So that looks great. I really like that, actually. I think I'm going to kind of go with that. Change is good. Spice things up a little. So yeah, now we got our green icons. That's pretty cool. And I am liking those. So I'm just going to go with that. Kind of glad I found that. Then here we have our cursor settings. So if you want a change of pace in your cursors, they got some nice ones in here. I kind of like this yellow. That's cool looking. And the blue too. So if you want to deviate from your standard white, you can give it a little color there and apply it, and now you got a yellow cursor when you mouse over something. So I like that, and that actually goes pretty good with the green, so I think I'm gonna go with that. Nice. And then here's our splash screen, which shows up when you first start in. Typically I choose none for a splash screen in KDE, because I like to just get straight to the desktop. Don't want to mess around with looking at a splash screen. However, if you like the splash screens, here's where you can see them, and if you want to just test it out, just hit the little play button over your preview here, and it will take you right into a splash screen, and this is what you would see right after you log in before you get to the desktop. So that's cool. And if I click, I'm back here. So that's a nice way you can test out your splash screens as you're logging in. Very cool. And then Oxygen, of course, which is kind of the KDE default splash screen. So I'm going to jump out of appearance. And yeah, pretty much everything in here, though, I've gone over many times in other KDE distros. Your startup, shutdown, and so forth. If I wanted to change my avatar, here's where I would do it. I like the default, actually. Is really nice. So if you don't have an avatar, I think this default is pretty cool. And that's also what we have down here in our application menu, representing that, which I think is great. I don't think I would change that at all. I think it's cool. Now if you want to change your application menu, like I've shown before, show alternatives will give you other choices here, like if you want the application dashboard, which is a full screen, or your app launcher, which has a little bit more stuff in there. So if you were to switch to that, it switched the icon. But you can go in here and it's a little bigger, and then your sleep and restart shutdown is down here in the bottom. And if you wanted to change that icon back to where it was, you would actually have to go here to configure app launcher, I think it is. And then here you see the icons. So you would just go ahead and select that and select choose. And here we have our Artix Linux logo. So all you have to do is select that, hit OK, apply, and we got it back. So in case you change your launcher and you lose your logo, that's how you get it back. And then if we want to go to my personal favorite, the application dashboard, go ahead and switch. and it switched back the icon again. So not a big deal. Now we know how to change it. Just hit Configure Application Dashboard, click on icon, choose Artix Linux logo, OK, apply. Nice. And I do like this theme. The Artix dark theme is really cool. I really like that. That's something I warmed up to right away. Now we have our big launcher here, our panel. So this is really nice. And the transparency is very nice in it as well. I just like the way it's set up. It's just set up perfect. Exactly the way I like it. And the dark theme really works too. I like this Artix dark theme because the fonts work well with it. A nice contrast with them. I've seen some dark themes where they just don't work well with the fonts, and some of the times you get fonts that just blend in with the dark theme and it just doesn't work well. But this looks like it's really well thought out and does work well with the fonts. So I'm glad to see that. So yes, there we go. There's not a ton of stuff I have to go over because it is somewhat bare bones, and I do like that because it does give me a lot to work with. And we even got to customize it a little bit with our green icons here and our yellow cursor, and I think that looks kind of nice right off the bat. And I do like the choice of wallpapers. I think their default wallpapers are pretty much standard KDE, but there's a couple thrown in here, like this lake that I don't think I've ever seen before. You can make it look pretty sweet right off the bat. That's great. And I gotta say, with the runit on here, it really does feel snappier. It does. And I remember reading their FAQs one time, and I kind of got a kick out of it because one of the FAQs is, do you hate systemd? And they say, no, we don't hate systemd, even though it's a sucky piece of bloatware. So anyway, yes, no sucky bloatware. Runit is a very lightweight init system, and you can really feel it. If you download Artix or anything that's running an alternative init like OpenRC, whether you run Runit, OpenRC, or what have you, you're going to feel it. You get in there and you just kind of start playing around, and even checking your system resources, you'll see that there is a difference. So there is something to it, I think, the argument about systemd versus runit and OpenRC and so forth. I do kind of understand more the more I evaluate these systems, kind of where people are coming from with that. I can see why some people would be more attracted to using something. And if you're a Debian user / Ubuntu and you prefer the Debian type side, there are releases out there for that, which I may even cover in a future video. So you do have systemd alternative Debian based releases as well. And there you have it. So I got to give this Artix Linux a big thumbs up. I really like this release here. It feels really lightweight and stable. And I like that it's Arch based, and I like that their repositories are so big that they don't need the Arch extras and other standards in there. So that's pretty impressive. Something I didn't expect when I went out to the website. So Artix Linux, I give you a double thumbs up. And I totally recommend this. I think if you want something Arch based and you want to stay cutting edge, this is probably going to be something that you are going to like. You're going to like the lightweightedness of the desktop, and I would assume it's relatively trouble-free. Of course, like with any OS out there, the only way to find out is to just download it and use it for a couple weeks and just see how it goes. And if it doesn't give you any real headaches, then you may have a winner. But a first impression is always a big deal, and if you can get on there and just use it for even a half an hour or so and you get a great first impression and you're not really having any issues and you're downloading and installing things, then that's a real good sign that it's going to be a winner for you. So with that, I hope this review was helpful, and if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.